Hello and welcome to my tutorial on how to record and edit MIDI in Logic Pro 10. For this lesson I'll be using a Novation Launch Key 61, which is a MIDI keyboard, and this attaches directly into my Mac via a USB cable. The first thing we want to do after we've plugged in the MIDI keyboard is to open Logic Pro 10 and create a new empty project. And then we want to create a new software instrument track, and we want to make sure we've ticked the Open Library button, and then we just click Create. Now, before doing anything else, we want to first save the project. So we go to File, Save As, and I'm just going to call this Recording and Editing MIDI in Logic Pro 10. And we want to just keep an eye on where this is going. I've actually got my own Logic folder here where all my songs can live. And I'm just going to click Save, and that will create a new project. It's really important to save your project before you start recording and to know where your project is stored. This way you'll be less likely to lose your recordings, and you'll be more likely to recover from a crash should the worst happen. The next step is to choose a software instrument that you're actually happy with. Logic has lots to choose from, or you could even bring in your own external software synthesizer or sampler to use. It's important to audition which instrument is appropriate for you, so try out a few. I'm actually going to pick a grand piano to start this recording. The next thing you need to do is to set the click and count in for your track ready to record. And to do this, you really want to find out what the tempo of your song is. I've already worked out that the tempo of my song is going to be 100 beats per minute. So I just type that in there, and then to set the click, I just put the metronome on, and the count in, that's currently at 4 beats to count in. It's important to be able to adjust the click and count in to your recording, and you can do that under File, Project Settings and Metronome. Now in here you can adjust the volume and tonality of your metronome, and you can also choose to click whilst recording or only during counting. For me, I'm going to keep it ticked as click whilst recording. Also, you then want to go into recording, and you can choose how many bars you want to count you in. I'm actually going to set this at 2 bars. Now I'm ready to record, and I can do this in 2 ways. Either I can click the record button here when I want to start recording, and click the stop button to stop recording, or I can hit R on my keyboard to start recording and spacebar to stop. Here we go. Right, I've just gone ahead and re-recorded my piece of MIDI here, and I just want to rename this region, and I just do that by clicking on it and then right clicking and going Rename Regions. I then delete the text that's already in there, and I'm going to call this Major and Minor Triads. And I can also recolour it by going Show Hide Colours and just giving it a different colour so it's easy for me to remember what it is. In fact, if I was working with more tracks, before I started recording, I would have renamed this track here as well, and you can simply do that by clicking in here and again deleting the text and renaming it. And you want to do this prior to recording so that your tracks are given logical names when they've been recorded. The next step is to edit your MIDI. But first, before you start editing, you need to be able to see it properly. And there's a couple of ways you can zoom in on it. The first one is to select your zoom tool here and then click and drag a marquee around, like so, to zoom in on it. Or alternatively, you can hold down the Command key and using your arrow keys, you can zoom in on your MIDI. So we've got a nice big view there. And then to actually bring up the piano roll editor, to be able to edit your MIDI, all you do is select the region you want to edit and double click on it. And it should open up your piano roll here. And again, you can hold down Command and using your arrow keys, you can increase the size of the area to enable you to see your MIDI notes properly. The first thing you'll probably want to do when it comes to editing is to actually listen to your performance and find out where it is you actually need to edit. And to do this, you might want to loop the audio back. So you just click this loop icon and then just drag this out to a section of your MIDI that you actually want to hear back on repeat to find out where you want to edit. And already there, I could hear a note that I didn't want to be there, and that's this note at the start. So I just highlight that and press backspace, and it's gone. The other thing I noticed with my performance is that I was slightly out of time. I was often before the beat, particularly here and here, but I can fix that doing something called quantizing the MIDI. Now to do this, I want to make sure that the grid is on. So I go up here and check that the grid is on and it's set to snap to grid. And this is actually a smart snap. And then I want to get these notes to snap to 1 every 8th, but I don't want it to be too robotic. So I'm going to put the strength just down a bit to about 90 and put the swing up a little to about 10. And I just want to affect these notes here, so I'm going to just click and drag a marquee around them to select them. And then to quantize them, I just click on this Q here. And you see the notes jump into place. And if we just play that back to see how that sounds. Now just to finish off editing this piece of MIDI, I want to just quantize these notes here to the same settings as the other ones. So I just drag a marquee around there and click quantize. And then I just want to change the velocity of this note here to sort of match this one here to give it that bit more punch. So what I do is select the velocity tool and then click on the note and just drag it up in velocity to make it around the same as this one here. And then I just want to play that back to see how that all sounds. And here we go. And there we go. That is roughly how to record and edit MIDI in Logic Pro 10.